Welcome to Local Gov Strategy TV. Today I'm joined by Jon Rouse, who is Chief Executive of Croydon Borough Council. Welcome, Jon. At your presentation here at the Local Gov Strategy Forum, you've spoken about some of the challenges facing local government. Could you describe some of those that face local government nationally and also facing Croydon specifically?
I think there are four challenges at the present time for local government that are the main drivers, and I almost call them different fronts in the storm that when combined create particular turbulence and weather. The first of those is the almost unrelenting increase in demand for services, particularly around an ageing population, but also in terms of people with disabilities as well. I think the second is around increased service expectations from citizens who experience the best service in the private sector and expect us to be able to replicate those levels of service. And third, obviously, is the reduction in government finance and government grant. And then finally, there is the uncertainty over our income from a whole variety of sources, which creates risk. So I think those are the four biggest factors that are influencing us at the present time.
Of those four, the first two are concerned with service challenges and the second two are concerned with financial challenges. How do you balance the two in Croydon?
I think for any local authority, there are certain ways in which you can try and balance, the tensions between those different drivers. But really, you've only got four instruments when all's said and done. One of them is you can make efficiencies, and that's by far the most important. There is a constant drive to become, more efficient as an authority. The second is you can increase your income levels, and obviously that's around charges and tax and other fiscal instruments. And that's, of course, a judgment call in its own right. The third is that you cut services, and obviously, in terms of frontline services, the aim is to try to keep that to a minimum. And then, the fourth way is that you actually suppress the demand for those services in the first place, and that's about a changed relationship with the citizen and trying to alter their expectations and attitudes about what services are available to whom, when.
And what's your strategy for Croydon?
Our strategy for Croydon, which is called Step Change, is very pragmatic, and it's a 43 project programme that tackles as many of the drivers as possible over a 4-year period. And our aim is that in dealing with the financial challenge, we will achieve at least 70% through efficiency, with the remainder then dealt with through income and cuts. And so far, we're 3 years in, and we've met that objective by using a whole variety of projects and interventions.
Can you give me some examples of the efficiency measures you've taken in Croydon that have had the greatest impact?
So we've used a variety of instruments and interventions. Some have obviously been more successful than others. To give some examples, our employment-based cost review, which was done with our unions, looking at all our terms and conditions for staff and shift patterns and overtime and leave, and saved us over £3 million per annum. We have undertaken a very forensic analytical review of our layers and spans of management, which has saved us again over £3 million. We set up a new trading company to trade some of our adult care services, which again has been very successful. We've done some very targeted outsourcings, including our care homes, which has saved us over £2 million per annum. So that just gives you some examples of how we've achieved the level of efficiencies that we have.
How have you used technology to gain efficiencies?
We've used technology as part of this, as almost a substream of the work that influences many of these projects. We call it new ways of working, and what we do is we don't see technology as an end in itself, but rather as a targeted intervention in its own right to support a service change. So, for example, our street-based services, whereby the use of mobile technology, we allowed them to capture episodes and interventions on the street digitally and then transmit them straight through to the contact centre so that they can be dealt with and feedback can be given to the customer without the need for back office processes.
What will the local government landscape look like in 5 years' time?
So my expectation is that in 5 years' time, what we're going to have is a very heterogeneous landscape for local government. You're going to have local authorities that look completely different from one another in terms of their size, in terms of what services they offer, in terms of the way they manage demand and the relationship with their citizens, in terms of their level of outsourcing, their level of trading. I think the landscape, it will be very diverse, and I think that's a very good thing. I believe that those local authorities that will do the best in terms of managing the age of austerity will be those that do two things brilliantly. One is the way they commission services, evidence-based and excellence in procurement and contract management. And it will also be those that integrate services the best. And of course, the biggest example of where there is the scope for integration is between social care and health. We must not allow the health economy to believe that integration is just about the way that acute care and community health work together. It's a tripartite relationship where social care needs to be an equal partner from the point of actual care planning right through to the provision of services.
What is your advice to local authority leadership teams?
I think my message to any local authority leadership team at the present time is twofold. One, take care of the knitting. Just make sure that in these last years of this spending review that you land the finances safely. We don't want the reputation of local government generally to be harmed because one of us falls over. But second, looking beyond that, be bold now. Get a head start on the reality of where we're going to be in 2015, 16, 17 by making some really bold decisions about how you commission and how you integrate your services.